Hello everyone! My name is Evie Lupine. Welcome back to my channel, and today I have another video for you all. Today we are going to be deep diving into something that one of you actually asked me about during a live stream that I have not been able to get out of my head. And that would be, why do people have such a big problem with age play? And you could look at that question and go, people don't like things they don't understand. Boom, done, 5 seconds, over. But I don't really think that gets into the heart of why there is so much conflict around age play. And I want to dive into what I think that could be and maybe examine some biases, some misconceptions, and help try to correct them and have better understanding on both sides of the equation. As someone that is not an age player but does overlap with people that are into age play a lot in my community spaces and having taken lots of classes about it and learned a lot about it, I hope that I can be kind of a more objective third-ish party to this perception of age play and just give kind of a more fair and balanced approach to analyzing what's going on here. So from what I can tell, when people say that they're not into age play or they don't like it or they think it's gross or something, there are three main reasons behind that feeling. And the first one, the biggest one, is that they believe age play is pedophilia. Ah yes, the eternal argument. Age play is just simulated pedophilia, and if you do it, it's because you are sick in the head and you are trying to get away with your attraction to children. And if you have watched any of my other videos where I have talked about CGL or age play, you likely know the answer here, but of course, age play is not pedophilia. It is a type of role play that only involves consenting adults. It does not involve children at any point. And pedophiles are attracted to actual prepubescent bodies. And it's kind of hard to do that when you are doing something that only involves other adults. And in fact, I've heard people say, well, the BDSM community, because it allows this kind of play to happen, is just harboring pedophiles. But BDSM spaces are strictly supposed to be 18 plus only, if not 21 plus only. And so I don't really know how that could be the case if BDSM spaces only have other adults in them for legal reasons. And, I'm not saying it's impossible that there could be some problems with adults interacting with kids, but from what I've seen, it tends to be there are people that fake being dominant, 99% of which are online, and they'll say, oh, I'm a dom, I'm a daddy, and I'm looking for like my perfect little princess girl to spoil. And they are trying to get to teenage girls that want to do CGL, that want to do DDLG, that want to do pet play, even though it is supposed to be 18 plus only. But unfortunately, that doesn't actually mean that age play is the pedophilia thing going on here. It's that there are a lot of adult men that will lie and use any means necessary to try and sexually interact with teenage girls online. And that is not a BDSM problem. That is not an age play problem. That is people being creepy on the internet problem and using whatever veil they think will work to do that. And that is why we are so adamant that BDSM spaces be only for adults, is because we don't want to even accidentally facilitate teenagers, younger people interacting with adults. But getting back more to the direct argument happening here, I have said something similar to this before in the video that I did on dark pet play, where people use similar logic to try and connect pet play to bestiality. However, compared to that, I think the hatred of age play can run deeper because our hatred of pedophilia runs much deeper as a society. How many TV shows are out there like To Catch a Predator or Dateline NBC that are basically entirely focused around catching predators and people that prey on children, and the satisfaction for the viewer of watching those people be taken down. And then even today in the internet age, we have seen people adopt that To Catch a Predator style content into more of a type of vigilante justice online and trying to trap or catch people like that for themselves. I mean, Chris Hansen himself, the person that was the face of To Catch a Predator on the TV, sort of became his own internet personality for a minute when he made his own channel and then declared he was going to be going after people like Onision and Davi Vanity. On another direction, you do also have people that are more commentary creators that have a brand that is in no small part based on cringing at and hating on pedophiles and pointing them out whenever they rear their heads on social media. And I think there is something to be said how fellow people on the internet, no matter their politics, their values, their demographics, no matter who it is, pretty much everyone will go, pedophiles suck. And they will say, hey, you think pedophiles are evil? Yeah, me too. Pat ourselves on the back, give each other handshakes, oh, aren't we good people for recognizing how disgusting and evil and awful pedophiles are? And there's entire channels and sections of YouTube that are entirely dedicated to just really getting into how much pedophilia is bad and evil and disgusting. And I'm not saying that this type of content by itself is bad. I think ousting predators, making people aware is a good thing. That is why I have so many videos talking about Marilyn Manson. However, it is interesting to look at what happens when you have people that primarily or mostly consume content that is focused around pedophile bad, pedophile evil, and then when they see something they think could be pedophilia, or that they have been misled to think could be pedophilia, thank you shitty documentary titles for that, and you can see the outcome of that in any documentary, any video made by an age player. I am sure if anyone here that is watching is an age play creator, they have experienced this. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of abusive comments under any video done about age play that's like a big documentary made by a big company of people declaring that the dominant person to really be a secret pedophile that needs to be arrested and have his computer checked and even should be killed. And then you have people that commentate on the submissive partner that is usually the little in the dynamic saying, oh, well, she is just poor and misguided. She's being abused. She has daddy issues. She has severe mental health problems. She's crazy, all of that stuff. And it's just really sad to see how much people love hating on things for the wrong reasons and are just absolutely convinced this is bad, this is pedophilia, no matter what the actual evidence and the facts of the scenario is. And so when you do interact with people like this, if you have someone on your social media, in a DM, in real life, heaven forbid, that is like, what you're doing is wrong and is pedophilia and is disgusting, never ever do this again, it's gross, it's awful, I honestly do not think you should really spend time on these people. You can mention, hey, this is only involving consensual adults. There are no children here. This is not pedophilia. But beyond that, most people that have this worldview do not want to have their ideas challenged. And if you do, heaven forbid, if you say age play is not pedophilia to these people directly, they'll go, why are you sympathizing with the pedophiles? Are you a pedophile? And it's like, no, I'm just saying this like factually isn't the thing you think it is. And so really just do not waste your energy here. I think some people can move their minds, but they have to want it. People only change their values, their ideas when they want to. And so you can make, again, a very quick little remark, but unless they want it for themselves, it's going to be how it is. I have experienced people occasionally that come onto my channel and leave comments, and they start out very negative, even kind of borderline hateful. And then slowly, as they watch more, as they get into more of my explanation about things, they'll go, oh, okay, well, I actually was wrong about this. This is actually like different from what I thought. This is okay. I thought this was like horrible and abusive, and it's not. And I go, great, awesome. Somebody learned something. But I do not ever place my bets on that happening. And just, again, do not waste your energy on people because it's not really going to go anywhere, and it's likely only going to be damaging for you. Now, while I think this age play is pedophilia idea is more common in vanilla circles, I think when you get into kinksters, the more likely thing you will see is the second one, which is not that age play is pedophilia, but that age play is just like gross and icky and they don't like it and they don't want to see it. And I want to acknowledge right now that you do not have to like any particular kinks, be that age play, be that MS, be that pet play, whatever it is, you do not have to like any particular types of kink. You do not have to be into them. You do not have to support them. We all have things that we do not like that are part of the BDSM world. You might think that total power exchange is unethical or that nobody should use the term slave, but we all have to like at some point be okay enough with each other to want to be in the same space, to be part of the same scene, if we want things to actually stay together as a group. And there is a line between personally not wanting something or being uncomfortable with it and removing yourself when it does come around you and trying to restrict what other people are allowed to do because it makes you personally uncomfortable. This is where I really encourage you to remember the old adage of your kink is not my kink, but your kink is still okay. That can be really easy to remember when it is something that's like, oh yeah, it's not really my thing. You know, I don't like medical play. I don't like electro play. The sensations of it are not for me, so I can just kind of leave it alone and allow other people to enjoy it. However, when it's something that we find really disgusting or we find distasteful or we think is gross for some reason, it can be really hard to remember that value. It can be really hard to remember, hey, you know, it is okay if people do things that I am not into. And something I think would be beneficial here is, and this is kind of an out there idea, but I know that for certain programs, for becoming a sexologist or an asect therapist or a sex therapist of some kind, that they usually go through a sexual bias training where they analyze where are their biases and where do they have certain negative assumptions about different types of sexual activity. Now obviously not all kink is sexual, but I think that examination of bias is worth it, right? If you interact with something that you don't like and you feel safe, I think it is worth kind of internally going, okay, what am I thinking about? What is being brought up physically and mentally for me when I see this thing? What assumptions am I making about the people that are doing this? What sort of thoughts am I having? Am I having that subconscious belief that age play is pedophilia, like come up to the surface right now? Is it reminding me of my kids at home and taking me out of the mood? Like what is going on there mentally and physically in your reaction to that stimulus? What are you thinking about when you see age play happening? And does it match up with reality? If you are someone that is in that mindset of age play is weird or gross, chances are you maybe have never met with or talked to anyone that is into age play. And I think having that in-person, face-to-face contact with someone that has this kink outside of a kink space even can be a really good way of addressing that internal bias, because now you can go, hey, you know, I know John, he's into age play, he's a really nice guy, he has this job and this family, and now instead of having only this internal assumption going on, you have a face and a name and a story to match with that activity. And I think over time, with that exposure, with conversations, it kind of fades more into the background and it'll become less uncomfortable. And speaking of things fading into the background, I think one factor to consider here as well is that the visual presence of age play hasn't really been a thing for very long in the general or pansexual BDSM community. We have had many years, like the whole time kink has been around, to get used to the fact that bondage and screaming and nakedness are all part of what it's like to be in a dungeon. It's kind of just taken for granted. But having tutus and sippy cups in the same place, we are not used to that one yet. And I think that it has just taken a while for the general or pansexual BDSM world to catch up with that. Of course, in queer kink spaces, things like age play or daddy kinks have been around for a very long time. But I think it's only really been in the last few decades that it has been more widely adopted, certainly in the time that I've been in the kink world, and definitely along with the publishing of Lee Harrington's seminal work on Ageplay, which is the Toy Bag Guide to Ageplay, which I think came out in like 2008. And even that being a really small book, having that little tiny bit of visibility, allowing people to have conversations because of that book coming out, did make a really big difference. And so I think just with time as well, in general, as a collective, we will get more used to it because it'll just be more normal. However, I think there is one big remaining elephant in the room that we need to address that I'm not going to enjoy talking about, but it is the honest truth and it needs to be said. And that is the remaining reason why some people do not like Ageplay is because they have had personal negative experiences with age players that has left them with a bad impression. So please bear with me. I will try to cover this fairly. The most stereotypical example of this would be the YouTuber, I saw a girl at Build-A-Bear workshop with her boyfriend who called him daddy, and she had a tantrum and was using a sippy cup in public, like story time video where somebody has a negative, direct, personal interaction with someone doing kink in public and really not doing it subtly. And, you know, it could just be like cringe reaction content. Sometimes people are very negatively affected by that, and it can make them feel really uncomfortable. And I'm not going to get too much into this, but just to say it, guys, do not involve the general vanilla public with your kinks. Do not expect the Build-A-Bear workshop employee or the pretzel stand guy to engage in your power exchange with you. Just don't do it. Respect other people's boundaries. If you want to do kinky stuff with other people, that is what dungeons are for. If you want to do your DS relationship and keep it going in a public setting, there are subtle ways to do that that do not involve anything visually or even auditorily being noticeable to a random vanilla stranger. So please be responsible with that, because we are kind of spokespeople for the BDSM world when we choose to take that outside of kink spaces and be proud of it in a more public way. So keep that in mind. Moving on from that though, I think more of the conflict happens even when you are at dungeons, even when you are amongst other kinksters, because like I said, Ageplay has not really been around in the larger kink scene for a really long time. Of course, there are events that are just for age players that are designed for them, and so you can kind of do whatever you want, right? There are some events that are for age players mixed with like pet players, for example, which is how I run into most people that do age play. And then obviously age players also like going to other kink events. People that do age play typically have some other kink interests, and they like going to things like newbie nights or taster events or edge play galas just as much as the rest of us. And so of course you are going to see people that do age play at non-age play events, and that is where the friction comes in. So I have a story that I once told a very, very long time ago on this channel about someone that I knew that went to a general BDSM party doing age play, being in a little headspace the entire night. And I apologize if I don't remember all the details because it has been a while, but from what I recall, what had happened is they were around some people they knew, some people they didn't, and it was just a general social thing. It was talking, it was casual, it was not a scene, it was not a play area, it was just, hey, what's going on, Bob? How you doing? Haven't seen you in a while, Susie. And just like, you know, the casual chatting that happens when you catch up with people at a dungeon. And they were talking to people, and I think they either did something like they like pulled on a hem or asked someone to open a juice bottle for them or something that seemed like kind of innocuous, but they were addressing people in a little voice and wanted people to interact with them on that little level as like a big or as like an adult caretaker kind of person. And this caused a lot of controversy because there were people that went there that were uncomfortable with that felt like they were kind of violated because this person was expecting them to do age play with them when they didn't really know this person at all or weren't into age play themselves. And the person that was doing the age play was like, well, like, this is just part of who I am. This is my kink identity. Like, having that rejected is really hard, and you doing that means you are kink shaming me and you are a bad person. And that is not the way to have a harmonious kink space. And personally, for my 2 cents on it, I have heard other stories like that where you have people that are littles or doing age play, and they feel like if you reject their little space, if they are in little space and they are doing their little things, if they come up to you and they want you to do something or talk to them, if you reject them or don't respond in kind, they take that as you rejecting them, and they do not mentally handle that well, and they will say, hey, you are kink shaming me. You are actually harming my mental health because that rejection is traumatizing to me or is triggering a trauma memory, and kink is supposed to be my safe space, and doing that is wrong. And let me say, I totally empathize with kink being something that is relaxing for you, that is good for your mental health, kink being something that you typically feel safe in. However, no matter how innocent it seems to you, it is not okay to force kink on someone else, which is what you were doing. I think age play can seem, to the people that are doing it especially, as this very lighthearted, fun thing that of course anyone would be comfortable being around. But the fact is, that is not the case. There are people who don't like age play because they are biased, they are prejudiced. There are people that don't like age play because it reminds them of kids at home and takes them out of the mood. Or they have childhood trauma that age play is really triggering around and they don't want to interact with it. Just as much as people do age play because it helps them process their childhood trauma. So if you expect that to be respected for yourself, you should do the opposite for others too. It should be something where we are really focusing on respecting other people's boundaries, and we are saying, hey, I understand, you don't have to like this, and like step away and be around people that do want to be around that kind of behavior, which is why having events for only age play or that are age play focused are a really good idea, because then you know everyone is going to be around and wanting to do the same thing as what you're doing without that awkwardness. And I know, again, some people just think it's like, oh, it's not a big deal, it's just like a sippy cup, it's just a cookie, like who cares? And for me, I think about it like, okay, I'm a pet player, right? And I might think, okay, well, I could be at a play party. I might want someone that is a stranger to throw a ball for me. And I could be totally naked, wearing nothing but a harness and maybe some kind of hood, right? That person maybe has no idea what pet play is. They maybe even got bitten by a dog as a child. I have no idea. And expecting them to interact with that kink in the way I want them to, without any conversation, without any negotiation, without that conversation even being able to happen because I am in headspace, that's just overall a no-go. Negotiation, respecting boundaries is the first and foremost. And that is why I really think if you are a little going to a party, it is a really good idea to have a caretaker go with you. Not someone necessarily that you do DS with or that you even play with, but someone you know that can be your like designated adult basically, that can help you when you are in your headspace, if you need something, if you have a question, if you feel lost. So that way you are not having to interact with people that maybe don't want to interact with you and not having to face that rejection necessarily. On the flip side though, if you are someone that is like, oh, age play is not really my thing, it's kind of gross, you do not have to be rude about it when you reject someone or tell them no. You can just say very politely, I'm sorry, I can't help you, and leave it at that. If you feel like you want to, you can say, hey, do you have a caregiver with you? Where should you be at? Do you have an adult with you, basically? And if they persist, if they will not stop bothering you, that is when you get a DM involved. You do not have to be rude back. You do not have to say, oh my God, so gross, so disgusting, get away from me. You can just kindly decline their offer of interaction and move on. And so I think if we really take the time to understand each other, both in terms of respecting boundaries and having that foresight to know how to limit your interactions, and then also know how to be kind in our declines and rejections, that's going to make a much better environment for everyone. Now, if this is someone that you know, I do think it is worth having a conversation up front before you have those interactions, because I do think some people assume, hey, we're friends, that means it'll be okay if I interact with them while in headspace. So I think it's good to say, if you're not going to be okay with that, hey, John, I see that you and I are RSVP'd to the same party. I heard that you are going to go there and do some Ageplay and be in headspace. That's totally amazing. I hope you have a lot of fun. However, I just want to make sure you understand that I am not going to be available to interact with you in your Ageplay headspace. Nothing against you, nothing against the kink. It's just not really something that I am comfortable with yet, and I want that to be a boundary, okay? And I think if you communicate it as a boundary, it'll make it really, really clear where something is okay or not, and just get rid of that ambiguity. So yeah, I think ultimately to keep the kink scene as something that is welcoming and accepting, but also acknowledges that not everyone has the same kinks, we need to work on both sides. We need to be able to examine our own internal biases. We need to be able to establish clear boundaries, and when we do that, do it in a clear and respectful manner where possible. And for littles, I think it is good to remember how headspace can affect how you want to interact with people, being willing to accept that not everyone is into the same things as you, and that is okay. And also, if you are someone whose mental health is not able to really deal with that kind of rejection, it is probably better to refrain from playing in public while you work that out, or at least go to Ageplay focused events where that kind of rejection is less likely. But yeah, those are all the thoughts that I wanted to share about this topic. I hope that it helped you come to a little bit of a better understanding about the other side of the equation here, helped you maybe understand some of your assumptions or misconceptions, or give you better tools to deal with this in some way. I don't know. I just hope it was productive somehow. And I would love to know what you all have to say in a comment down below. I think this could be a really interesting conversation to have. But yeah, if you have not already, please do subscribe. I make videos twice a week about all sorts of kink and BDSM related topics. And finally, if you really enjoyed this, if you want to support what I do, the best way you can do that is with Patreon. A link to that will be down below. If you do already support me over there, thank you so, so much. It means the absolute world to me. And until I see you all next time, I hope you have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your week. Bye-bye.